Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday. Yes, we are still at home because it is, they named it Blaze. I didn't realize at the time that they named it Blaze TV because it was going to be blazing hot in the studios when the AC went out. But Glenn he's a foreshadower, and he oftentimes says things that will happen in the future. And he did it here as well. I am joined today remotely by Eric July, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Rippaverse Comics, along with Matt Marsden, Blaze TV contributor, and of course, actor and producer extraordinaire. I would encourage you guys to find them, subscribe to them. Eric is Young Rippa59 at YouTube. Matt is Matthew D. Marsden at YouTube. I am, of course, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered on YouTube, and you can find my beauty products at AmericanBeautyBySara.com. I am wearing Babraham Lincoln. Actually, we just shortened it to Babe Lincoln, but that's the color I'm wearing today on my lips. If you want it, go grab it, AmericanBeautyBySara.com. So President Trump, obviously, we talked about this yesterday. President Trump wanted Ed Martin in D.C. He had nominated Ed Martin, just like super conservative legal warrior, to be the U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. Now, this would have put him in directly a position to prosecute government corruption, investigate DOJ abuse, which we know is happening, or at least was for the last 4 years, aplenty. But you had Republican Senator Thom Tillis, Rhino Thom Tillis, who already was like, I'm going to block this nomination in the Judiciary Committee, along with Senator Lindsey Graham. And so, of course, it's like the usual suspects. We can't have this super conservative warrior coming in and being the U.S. D.C. attorney. Why, you ask? Because Ed Martin had spoken in favor of blanket January 6 pardons. That was a bridge too far, saying that maybe, this was a total government setup because we have evidence to show that it was a total government setup, was a bridge too far for these rhinos. And so President Trump decided he said, you know what? I'm just going to yank Ed Martin. We're just going to put him somewhere else, actually. Here is President Trump with that announcement. Watch.
You're a nominee for U.S. Attorney of D.C. Do you have a backup plan if this Senate does not?
But he's a terrific person, and he wasn't getting the support from people that I thought. He's done a very good job. Crime is down 25% in D.C. During his period of time. I'm very disappointed in that. But I have so many different things that I'm doing now with the trade. I'm one person. I can only lift that little phone so many times in a day. But we have somebody else that will be great. I just want to say Ed is unbelievable, and hopefully we can bring him into, whether it's DOJ or whatever, in some capacity, because really outstanding. To me, it was disappointing, I'll be honest. I have to be straight. I was disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed. But that's the way it works sometimes, that's the way it works. And he wasn't rejected, but we felt it would be hard. And we have somebody else that we'll be announcing over the next 2 days who's going to be great.
So he posted on Truth Social later that day that Ed Martin would be moving to the DOJ as the new director of the Weaponization Working Group, Associate Deputy Attorney General, and Pardon Attorney. He said on Truth Social, in these highly important roles, Ed will make sure we finally investigate the weaponization of our government under the Biden regime and provide much needed justice for its victims. Congratulations, Ed. So he said, all right, fine, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just put him directly in the DOJ. You guys want to play games with my America First agenda? That's fine. I have a backup plan. And, I want to get to that backup plan, at least for the interim. But I want to play first this. It's actually, maybe this is better for Ed Martin because the left is just so incredibly crazy. As all of this was happening yesterday, a woman walked up to Ed Martin, just on the street, walked up to Ed Martin and spit on him during a live interview and was like physically attacking him. Watch.
So we need to get focused.
Who in the you? You are Ed Martin.
How you doing? Whoa.
You are.
What? Of course she has a dog. Of course she's just walking her dog. Childless liberal feminist, attacks white male for absolutely no reason. Wow. Let me tell you how many times I've heard of that happening. So who is this? I'm not sure, but apparently an arrest warrant has been issued for this woman, and I hope that justice acts swiftly. So President Trump, I want to toss it to you guys here in a second, but President Trump's interim U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. is Jeanine Pirro, who, of course, is former New York district attorney before she became, Fox News personality. And she don't take no crap, all right? And I want to play Jeanine Pirro just totally wrecking the Democrats for, they have betrayed America's middle class and offered absolutely nothing of substance to voters. Watch.
But the Democrats can act because there's nothing about them that's authentic. And that's the problem. I mean, they're fighting to be cool. And the truth is, if it's natural, that's great. But they're not natural. Everything is scripted. Everything is, okay, they got the memo today. Today we're going to sing, we're going to dance, we're going to curse, or we're going to pick your fighter. And the problem is it's more damning of the Democrat Party that if, Trump's numbers, let's say, are going down, the Democrats' numbers are not going up because Americans don't consider them a viable option. I mean, I don't know that it's just that they're mad at everybody, as that, like, the Democrats have never shown that they care about Americans. They're more concerned about Abrego Garcia. They're more concerned about the illegals. They're more concerned about men and women's sports. They're more concerned about open borders, cashless bail, and making sure that, they've got all these DEI policies. And the shame of it is it's such a missed opportunity for them. That, the voters went for Trump because the Democrats didn't offer them anything. They offered them nothing that they could latch onto. And by the way, millennials are not obsessed or focused on DEI or all of this, like threats to democracy. They're focused on buying a house. This is the first generation where our children are not going to be as successful or as wealthy as we are. And that really is an opportunity that is so missed. And at the end of the day, whether or not Donald Trump's numbers are going down, 92% of the voters who voted for Trump are still satisfied with their vote because he's doing what he said he would do. And, Schumer and Pelosi can get out there. Pelosi says, well, they haven't done anything. Well, has anybody talked about the fact that the price of eggs have gone down? No, it's just when they were high, they couldn't stop complaining about it. But now that they're low, they're not going to give Trump credit for that. Of course not.
So President Trump, digging into his Mary Poppins bag of tricks, like, all right, the rhinos want to block me. The rhinos want to block us from implementing America First agenda. That's fine. I'll just pull out another fighter. And that seems to be what he has done with Jeanine Pirro. Eric, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts on this Ed Martin, Jeanine Pirro, saga?
Well, the reason why I find this particularly interesting is because of who blocked this. I don't know if you guys remember back in March, and I thought it was foolish at the time. I believe I brought it up at the show, but a lot of the pushback that I got from it, especially from a lot of people who are like, trust Trump, he knows what he's doing. It's because he's trying to do things like such, and he'll have Lindsey Graham on board. And do you remember, what was that? March 26th, I believe, was the exact date that, for whatever reason, oddly, he endorsed Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is showing you time and time again, he has his own agenda. It's not for the people. It's not about the people. It's not what they want. It's not even about what its party want. It's particularly about what the quote unquote establishment Republicans want. And he's still there, and he's still showing his muscle. It doesn't matter if you support him or not. He has his own agenda. So I don't think that the 5D, 4D chess thing works on him, particularly because he's playing his own game. So I hope now everybody that's paying attention understand that he's not on board. Even with Trump supporting him, he doesn't support Trump, rather in his agendas. But seemingly so, Trump had a backup plan, and that's how he has to play. Whether it be with how the court system, the judicial system is against him, trying to block any and everything that he does, he has to have a backup plan for the backup plan. And this is what I like about it, or rather what anybody can objectively say is positive about what he's doing, is because he's approaching this in a far different manner than what he did his first 4 years. And maybe that is because he had those 4 years to kind of think everything through, figure out what exactly how exactly he wants to approach this, and win, actually go out there and get dubs. And he realizes that people are there to block pretty much anything that he does. So make sure you have a backup plan. Yeah. And this is Trump doing good things, or rather for his base, because he's saying, okay, yeah, we knew, or we at least were accounting for the fact that they were going to try to prevent us from doing our thing. But guess what? We got a backup plan for the backup plan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have Senator Thom Tillis, the same thing, Eric, to your point. I mean, President Trump has endorsed him in the past. I have to imagine he's not going to endorse him again. I would hope not at this point, because he is unwilling to implement the MAGA agenda, or I should say the America First agenda, because that's really what it is. It's not about President Trump. It is about saving the country. And Matt, you know, to Eric's point, I thought it was so rich that Senator Thom Tillis went on X last night after all of this kerfuffle had happened, and he was like, oh, Jeanine Pirro has had a long and storied career as a prosecutor. She's a great choice by President Trump to serve as U.S. attorney for D.C. Like, all right, spare me, buddy. You're already going to get primaried. You're probably going to lose. You've already proven that you are not ready to implement the agenda. You get your little, you know, your butthole puckers at the thought of January 6th pardons. Goodbye. You're out of here.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he probably got a phone call. And he's like, oh no, what did I do? I mean, the problem is, as Eric said, is these guys have their agenda, and their agenda is not the agenda of the American people. And the American people's agenda is the America First agenda that they elected Donald Trump to implement. So we are looking at another few years of Donald Trump, and then we're looking at 8 years of JD Vance. And that's really what we need to look at with these guys. They have to be primaried, they have to go, and that should be a shot across the bow for anyone else that wants to impose their own will on the will of the American people. That's not how this goes anymore. Trump has changed this. Lindsey Graham, we've known for years, has been at best squishy. So he needs to go. He needs to go. Tillis needs to go. Cornyn needs to go. These rhinos, they are dinosaurs. They should not be in the position that they're in. And American voters need to make sure of that if we are going to continue forward. But I do want to say, this is like, you're right about Trump. Trump's like, really? You're going to stop my guy? Hang on a second. Boom! Let me drop someone who's even more hardcore than him. Because, you know, Judge Jeanine, she's been a supporter of Trump from the very, very beginning. She's very, very competent. She's hardcore. So be careful what you wish for, guys, because you will get someone that is even more down with the Trump agenda if you decide to cross him. And I'm all about this. This is the way Republicans should have been playing for the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, when you look at, guys, the rhino situation, it seems to be in places that you wouldn't typically expect. Like Tillis is North Carolina, Graham is South Carolina. You've got Cornyn here in Texas, where these are places where you would expect, like, oh, that seat should be relatively safe, right? And then you have these rhinos that creep in. You've got Alaska. Like, what? I mean, admittedly, I've never been to Alaska. Okay, so I don't know by personal, means, but you would think that these places would be safe from these rhinos that are stopping the American people from advancing, and they sneak up on us in these places that you just wouldn't expect. Is it Mitt Romney in Utah? I mean, I could go on. It's always these places that I think you would think are safe, and maybe that's why these guys skate by. Maybe that's why these guys don't ever get primaried. Maybe that's why these guys are dinosaurs and stay in there for, I don't know, seemingly 150 freaking years. Eric, I'll let you take that one first.
Well, you have to, like, it'd be one thing if these guys were going against Trump for liberty, right? Like maybe he had, because I've said this before,
Right.
like not everybody's just obligated to agree with everything that he does, and to keep him in check. Sure, you may need those guys to say, well, wait a minute, that this maybe isn't. Let's say there's a better route, but that's not what you're dealing with here, and it's so painfully obvious, especially with a guy like Lindsey Graham, because he's been doing it from the get-go, right? So I think the whole primary, that has to be a serious tactic for the Republican Party if they are going to move in this new direction, right? If the party of old is supposedly out of there, right? You have to seriously primary these guys, and you also have to get some of these guys in there in these positions of power that are a little unorthodox. Like, I'm not talking about Mike Johnson. These are the same milquetoast cats that you've been dealing with since I've been alive. The Republican Party, the reason why Trump became so popular is because he was unorthodox, right? They wanted something new. This party desperately needed something different, right? And if it wants to go in the right direction, that is also, again, to be different from what the establishment has done for the last, again, the longest I've been alive, 30 plus years, right? Then you got to get the guys out. And that requires primary. You got to legitimately primary these guys. And I know that seems a little shaky for some because they look at it like, well, this may be an opportunity for the Democrats to maybe come in because it's not going to be a lock. Like, so what, man? At some point, you got to get these guys out, because what's the point of having this agenda, right? That or rather this mandate that you got from the American people if you're still going to endorse guys that are going to, again, be in positions of power, whether they're on certain committees, whether, again, they're in Congress, what have you, and they're still going to vote against you anyway. You've got to get these guys out. So we say it all the time, every 2 years, right? It's like we're always talking about, well, these guys finally have to get primaried, and they just stay in there forever. They need to take it seriously now. You see, Trump's not going to be there forever, but if you're going to continue on with this momentum, this is something that the Republican Party has to take seriously. When you have guys that are not with it, get them out.
Yeah, Eric's lips to God's ears, especially when it comes to Senator Cornyn here in Texas, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, look, firstly, the Republican Party tends to operate from a base of fear, which is what Eric was alluding to there. Like, oh, we don't want to lose that person. Well, you're not actually gaining anything by getting somebody like Lindsey Graham. And in the same way that if you look at church attendance, for example, right now, the churches that are absolutely packed, the governor's races and the political races that do very well are people that actually stand up for something. Okay, these are, as Eric was saying, these are people that are a little bit more outside the box. Trump was the guy, don't forget, that was outside the box. And America's like, I want that. And again, to Eric's point, nobody really complains about Rand Paul, right? Because Rand Paul comes out and he has for the most part, legitimate arguments against the government and government overreach. And we kind of go, okay, all right, we understand what he's saying. And he doesn't really get the same kind of heat as these guys deserve to, because this is an appointment. It should be a no-brainer. And to your point about the Republican states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, these people have been asleep for a long time. We've said it over and over and over again. When I came from California, I was hyper aware of the fact that the Democrats were trying to get the crown jewel, which is Texas. And what they do is these people are very slippery. They go, oh, we're Republicans. Have you looked at what they're doing in Texas? This is California light. And again, please, Texans, this is not because of Californians moving to Texas. You have to understand this. This has been going on for decades now. You just haven't been aware of it because they can operate, because most people are like, we're safe. Texas is a red state. We don't have to worry about it. It's not that case anymore. You've got nefarious people funding different candidates that know that you don't go out and come out and say these things directly, right? They know, they understand the process, that they will never take Texas if they're coming out with values that are not Texan values. So what do? They say that they are. They're like, hey, listen, I'm born and raised in Texas. I believe in Texas values. And then they do what they're doing in the Texas legislature right now, which is unbelievable. It is utterly staggering what they are passing in the Texas legislature. If Texans really knew and they were really switched on and informed, they would be going bananas. Just because Cornyn is a big name and he's been called out on the media, they know about him, but they're not even looking at the local politics. Everybody has to be involved. We have a Marxist agenda going on in the United States. You saw it under Biden. It hasn't gone away with the Trump victory. It hasn't. Everyone needs to get engaged. That's why they need to like and subscribe to this channel, to Eric's channel, and to my channel. You got to be engaged.
Yeah. By the way, it's banana, not banana. Okay.
Listen, I had
now.
someone today say that Sarah, someone told me today on my live stream that their child is walking around saying banana, banana, banana. I feel like a proud papa myself. I'm just saying.
That's funny.
Tomato.
All right, so let's go ahead. But by the way, aluminium. By the way, if you want to hear more about Texas-related politics, make sure, if you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you are, first of all, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Go over to the playlist, and you can check out Come and Take It, and that is a Texas-exclusive podcast where we do a deep dive with what's going on in Texas politics. All right, we're going to be back with more, but first we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Preborn. So this Mother's Day, we're doing something really, really exciting with Preborn. I need you guys' help, okay? If you don't know who Preborn is, they make it very easy to work with them. They are a ministry that work with a network of clinics. That network of clinics is, they're cozying up to right next to Planned Parenthoods. They're opening up a clinic that instead of bringing a woman in who's scared and who's been sold lies and who's been told you can't have this baby, you can't do it on your own, they're actually invited in and offered God's love and shown the truth on ultrasound. It's really that simple. They're like, hey, let me just give you an ultrasound. This is your baby. It's actually a baby. It's not just a clump of cells. And here's the heartbeat. And God entrusted you with this baby to keep this baby safe and raise it. And oftentimes in that moment, the woman is like twice as likely to choose life. Ultrasounds cost money. Here's where this chart comes in. I asked them, please update us so we can see where we're at. But we are asking for 600 ultrasounds in this month of May. This is Mother's Day month. All right, over the weekend. If you haven't gotten a Mother's Day gift yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hurry up. The cards are probably flying off the shelves. So honor Mother's Day month this month by helping us sponsor ultrasounds. $28 is the cost of one ultrasound. How many ultrasounds can you help us get to? You can go donate securely at preborn.com/Sarah, even if it's just one ultrasound. Help us get to 600. We are saving babies' lives here. Preborn.com/Sarah. Donald Trump reaching into his Mary Poppins bag of tricks again when it comes to the Surgeon General. He had previously, we talked about this the other day, had previously decided that he wanted this Dr. Jeanette Nashawat. Do either of you guys know how to say her name, her last name? It is the strangest spelling. Just nod or shake your head if you know
Well,
how.
you know what happened yesterday with my pronunciation?
I said nod or shake your head.
I'm just saying.
It's Matt. That's not possible.
I'm just saying, but banana. If I said it, you just say, that's not how it's said anyway.
That's actually true. But Eric indicated he doesn't know how to say it. So we're just going to go with Neshawat. So she was a terrible pick, if I'm being honest. Some of these picks, it's just like Eric was talking about with the endorsements that Donald Trump chooses. Some of these endorsements, I don't quite understand. Some of these picks for these spots, I didn't really understand. One of those was Dr. Jeanette. She didn't speak out against masking during COVID. She didn't speak out against mandates. She didn't speak out against lockdowns. She also publicly very much simped for COVID vaccinations and boosters on Fox News. And so it was a very strange pick. I know we just talked about this the other day. It was a very strange pick, in my opinion, for him to bring on an RFK Jr. who was sounding the alarm about all of these crazy things that were happening. He was leading the charge. And then to pick someone like Dr. Jeanette just did not seem to align. And so once again, President Trump's like, okay, you know what? This isn't working. Out with you, in with Casey Means. This is Stanford Dr. Casey Means, who I would say is not without her share of criticism already. And I want to get into that because the MAHA community is very divided right now, which is not what we need. It's very frustrating to see. We've finally gotten our moment on the big stage. And what are we doing? Arguing. So you have Fox News, RFK Jr. responded to the main arguments against Casey Means and picking her, which is, of course, she really never finished her residency and is not currently, as far as anyone can tell, not currently licensed to practice medicine in any of the 50 states. Watch.
Casey Means, we felt, was the best person to really bring the vision of MAHA to the American public. She has this unique capacity to articulate it. She's written a book that really mobilized, galvanized the movement. She is an extraordinary. She is excellence in everything that she's ever endeavored.
Obviously, she's come under her own criticism about some of the things she's advocated for. She never finished her residency, and she doesn't currently have an active medical license. That's not.
She was the very top of her medical class at Stanford. She's during her residency, she won every award that she could win. She walked away from traditional medicine because she was not curing patients. She couldn't get anybody within her profession to look at the nutrition contributions to illness. And she said, if we're really going to heal people, if we're healers, we can't just be making our life about billing new procedures. We actually have to figure out new approaches to medicine. And that's the kind of leadership that she's going to bring.
So, you look at this, and I just don't know how much of a qualification being licensed to practice medicine really, like, what good is that? Because all of the doctors who were telling people to mask up, who were requiring masks in their offices, who were telling their patients to abide by 6 feet social distancing markers, even though there was absolutely no scientific evidence to show that 6 feet was the magical number. In fact, in the UK, it was a completely different measurement. I think it was like 4 or something. So you have all of these licensed to practice medicine doctors, and what has come from that? America is sicker than ever. We have more chronic disease than ever. Our kids are sicker than ever. And so, sometimes it just makes you think, like, I don't know, maybe I do want the person who isn't technically licensed to practice medicine right now, but went through all of the same schooling. And instead of regurgitating it like a sheep, she said, hey, I'm going to think critically about this. This doesn't make sense. I'm going to come out and criticize these medical schools. I'm going to criticize their ignorance of holistic approaches to health. I'm going to criticize the fact that they don't want to encourage their patients to engage in healthy habits like exercise and sleep and nutrition and, metabolism. I mean, these are big issues plaguing Americans that she knows about. And the mainstream licensed doctor doesn't. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure how much a license does for you these days. That's just where we're at. And whose fault is that ultimately? I would say it is, of course, the fault of all of these government experts who pretend like they are the only ones who ever know anything about any of these subjects. And they are unwilling to even look at any fresh data because the science is settled. Last I checked, that has never been how it worked. Matt, I'm going to let you take this first.
Well, Andy Wakefield doesn't have a license. Andy Wakefield doesn't have a license.
And he's one of my heroes.
Yeah, and he's been amazing. RFK doesn't have a license that I know of. The argument from authority is ridiculous. And we've seen this in particular in the medical community. I think I told you before, I went to see this a pediatrician, and she basically had to sell her practice under COVID, and she had to adhere to all these ridiculous rules that she didn't want to. Now she actually retired. She basically lasted about another 3 weeks. We got to see her, then we had to go and find another pediatrician. I don't think that this is a disqualifier in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think it's more of a qualifier. Who cares about the license? As RFK said, she's top in a class. She did all these other things that actually, if you do want to look at real qualifications, that's what really matters. It's certainly not a DEI hire. So I think it's an absurd thing to look to as whether or not she should be qualified, whether or not she has a current license. I mean, if you
Yeah, I
let
mean-
your if you let your driving license lapse, does that mean that you're not qualified to drive, or does that mean that?
Right.
Should I say this? Does that mean you can't drive? It might be that you're not qualified to drive, like you can't practice, you can't get in the car. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It doesn't mean you don't understand how a car works. So it's absurd. And in fact, I think that's actually a positive. That, I mean, look, even Pete Hegseth, everyone was going on about why we need a general. We need a general in there. We need someone who's been in the system. And we would argue, no, we absolutely don't actually. We need a disruptor. And that's what I think she is. And I'm all for it, to be honest. I don't see the issue.
Yeah, Eric, I think it goes back to Matt's point, what you were talking about in the last segment about bringing someone in who is going to be that disruptor, who is going to be unlike the status quo. Because, hey, guys, guess what? The status quo isn't working, just like in, all of these other aspects, the forever wars, in, the America Last agenda, in shipping our taxpayer dollars overseas, also in America's health. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah, this is a big topic that so it's fresh on everybody's mind, especially with what happened after 2020, right? So to me, that is and maybe it's a little bit of recency bias, but did they get that part right? Is all I don't say all I care about, but if they got that right, that like Jay Buttigieg, I remember talking. It's funny how he's in the position now, and I just remember those old shows that we did, Sarah, and I was always talking about Jay. And it's funny that she comes from Stanford, where Jay came from, as well as Dr. John Ioannidis, all the people that got this stuff right. So the practice, the analogy that Matt used is absolutely perfect. While it might not be legal, obviously, for you to drive, if you lose your driver's license, you don't just up and forget. It's not like, oh, snaps, my driver's license expired and now I just don't know how to operate the wheel. That's just not how it works. And especially if she's someone that went to the same schools as all the people that we're supposed to trust, and she graduated at the top of her class, and she at least understands it. Well, cool. The whole appeal to authority is not going to work, especially on the American people right now, because they were swindled by the same folks that you told us to trust that were going through that and did have all the licenses and with the government doctors and everything, and they still got it wrong. So we know that doesn't mean anything with regards to actually understanding health. But yes, with regards to nutrition and metabolism and all that, which seems to never be discussed with regards to health. We're such a reactionary populace where it's always about pilling everybody and taking as much medicine as you possibly can, or pills, narcotics, and everything to try to alleviate whatever pain that you have. And it's never about actually preventing any sort of issues that the American people face, especially with regards to diet. So people that are understanding that, those are the folks that you really want in these positions, right? It is people that are often unorthodox. And, RFK brings up a great point where he's like, well, the reason that she's not really practicing is because, well, she's not healing. In order to practice, you kind of got to go through the same old spiel, which got us in this spot in the first place. So I'm all for bringing people into these positions that are a little unorthodox. You can still have that knowledge base, but appealing to authority is what got us the disaster that was the COVID-19 reaction, that really the entire not just America, the entire world faced that as a problem. And it shows, just because you have that degree, just because you practice, just because you've been in these positions of power or authority for decades, does not mean that you're going to get everything right.
Yeah, amen. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor this segment. I'm so excited about this one. New sponsor of the show, Shopify. And they were asking me, they were like, well, are you interested in, having Shopify as a sponsor of your show? And I was like, I mean, yeah, because I literally use Shopify for my business, AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. If you go there, anytime you place an order there, it is Shopify that I use on the back end. And it is, I have a billion different jobs, so I don't have time to mess with, website issues or commerce platforms that are very hard to navigate and understand. This is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from household names to brands just getting started. So they've got a package to fit any sort of, if you're just a basic, like just a little mom and pop business and you want to do, a business on the web, get started. They've got tons of templates. I'm really dumb when it comes to all of this computer stuff. I can handle this. It makes it so easy. They've got a mobile app as well, so you can keep up with it on the go. Just make sure that you go check them out. If you're ready to sell, you got any business and you want to sell online, go to Shopify, turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Yes, sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Sarah. I'm telling you guys, they make it so easy. Shopify.com/Sarah. So, talking about the Maha agenda, I want to play for you guys this video that I saw on X. And it was a man who had just left a McDonald's and he was very, very upset about what he saw at the McDonald's play place. Here's that.
I just left a brand new McDonald's and I have to show you the play place because it is actually going to blow your mind. Remember being a kid going to a birthday party at McDonald's, or maybe your mom would just take you for an hour? It was the best, but I feel like those days are done.
Music is so
let me show
scary.
you why.
It's just 2 chairs in front of screens. For those of you who are listening on audio, and
Yeah,
some
2
weird
screens,
pole thing.
2 chairs, and whatever the hell that pole thing was.
Now, I mean, my first thought is that's really sad. It's really, really sad to just see what used to be for us when we were growing up, this big playground where you could, eat and then kind of expend your energy in this playground and the ball pit and the slide and all these different things. But like my second thought is, what else would you expect from McDonald's? They're poisoning your children. Like I don't. Just don't go to McDonald's. I mean, they are poisoning your children. They are contributing to America's obesity epidemic. Why would you expect McDonald's to continue putting out a play place where children can, expend their energy? It's clear that McDonald's is not at all interested in keeping your children healthy and fit. So part of me is just like, don't take your children to McDonald's. I mean, that solves the problem, doesn't it? Matt, you have 1 billion kids. I'll let you weigh in on that.
Yeah, I mean, we never eat McDonald's anyway. But listen, Chick-fil-A is right there. They've still got their little play things you can climb up around in. I mean, it's really sad. It just made me think of, do you remember WALL-E with all the people on the spaceship, and they're like, brrr, they don't use their legs anymore. That's where we're going. I mean, this is really sad. Like you said, I mean, I think that McDonald's have become less and less friendly over the years. I was looking on, I think it was on Instagram, they showed what McDonald's looked like in the 80s and 90s. And it was, they used to have like those mushrooms in there and the tree that was happy. And it's just become very, very sterile. And it's not a place that you really want to take your kids anymore. I mean, I don't anyway. But, I can't remember. When was the last time you had a Big Mac? I can't remember.
I can't even remember. I mean, decades. Probably.
But you actively avoid it now, don't you? You have you say there's no way I want to go there.
Yeah, I could tell you with 100% certainty that if I showed my 4-year-old, if I showed him the McDonald's logo with the golden arches and I said, "What is this?" He'd be like, "I have no idea." He's never been there. He's never had anything from there. He'd be like, "I don't know." It's just like we just don't do it.
I just think that youngsters don't go there anymore. It's not a place for young kids to go and play. The novelty's kind of worn off. I think most people that I know actually go to McDonald's for a coffee now. They say they have pretty good coffee. And that's when they can't get in at Starbucks. So they just go through the drive-thru. Because they've got to be really careful, because I don't know who's doing the marketing, but it's not effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it again, I don't want to downplay how sad it is, Eric, that it's just it's 2 chairs with screens. Like that's really sad, but also like, it's McDonald's, so what do you expect?
Yeah, this speaks to a cultural shift. It's not the McDonald's of old. It hasn't been that way for some time. I actually posted, because my birthday was last month, and I posted the picture on social media of my first birthday, and guess where it was at? McDonald's. That's where my first ever birthday party was. It was at that was one thing that we did when we were younger, and they were these places where you can do all these. Obviously, you can go in there and have fun, and play pits, and all that stuff. But even as technology grew, I mean, in the '90s, I remember at various, not just McDonald's, but at various places, you had just cool things for the youngsters to do, and now it's just like bland, like gray, like the design of the McDonald's used to be a little more extravagant. It's not the McDonald's of old. You bring up the food quality is obviously not the same that it was either. I think the only thing that's like even real there for the most part is their beef, and which is surprising of all things. That's real at McDonald's is the patty, and so that's probably your best bet if you have to go. Just get a bunch of patties, and you'll probably be good to go. So yeah, it's not the best place, especially for youngsters that you want to eat. But man, it is unfortunately sad for those, because that's unimaginable for me. Like, you talking about your kids, Sarah, and you're like, look, if I brought this up to them, and kudos to you that because you don't take them there, like they wouldn't know what this is. I couldn't even imagine that, like growing up, because it's like it was such a those golden arches was such a fundamental. It was like part of the fabric of American kind of culture. It was a different place as well from the service and how they interacted. It was way different when we were children versus what it is now. And unfortunately, that's just where we're at, where we're moving towards culturally. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that's what they lean towards as far as, well, this is what the youngsters are paying attention to anyway, because unfortunately most parents aren't like y'all anyway. What do they do to keep them occupied? They're not playing. They stick screens in front of them and they're just on them all day long. So really they're just getting with the times, and it's a fundamental cultural problem that I really do hope at some point really gets addressed, because it's messed up.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine too, just talking about McDonald's, it's not just the screens in the quote play place, which appears to be the most dystopian, creepy play place ever. But it's also the automation in the ordering, because they've got the screens when you walk in. You're not even greeted by anyone. You just have to like type in your order. I mean, I've seen videos too of there are some that have robots now, I think, that bring things out. And so everything from top to bottom, you're just not interacting with anyone more. And the group that is most affected by that are, of course, the children who don't have anyone to socialize with. And so it's so frustrating for me too, because just on that note, I'll take my son somewhere to a playground or whatever, and he wants to find a kid to play with because he's at the age where kids are way more fun than me. So he's like, but I want to find a friend. You're not a friend. I want to find a friend. And people will take their kids to these playgrounds and then still hand them a device to watch. And I'm like, why? What are you doing? What's the point? And so, of course, what does my son do? Walks over and goes, oh, what are you doing over there? And I have to be the mom who's like, no, we actually came here to play. It's really sad what it's become. Matt, I'll give you look like you want to jump in there.
Yeah, well, I had it the other night. A friend of mine came around and he said, your kids are so engaged with people that come in. And that it's because of that. It's because we do not allow our kids, for the most part, to be in front of screens. It's very, very difficult, especially when it's being instilled in schools as well. Our school has a no device policy, which is amazing. And what that does is that creates a level playground, because you always excuse the pun on that, a level playground, because you're always battling against the rest of the culture. As Eric was saying, the culture is different. You're always battling against the other kids as well, and the other parents who are allowing their kids to do that. So if everyone said no, then you'd have a bunch of kids that would fancy that. They would be going out and they'd be playing again like we used to when we grew up. But listen, I do want to make a bigger point about this as well, Sarah, is that it used to be you kick your kids out and they would go down the park by themselves. You wouldn't be taking them down there and standing with them and letting them play. And part of the issue with that is there's been an influx of illegal aliens that have come in that are criminals that make it so that you can't let your kids go down the street, because you don't know the people in your community. You don't know whether these people are rapists or murderers. So you have to go there with them. If you'd have gone back to the 80s and said to 10-year-old Matt, hey, listen, you got to go on a play date, I would have said, what are you talking about? I don't understand what that is. And so the whole culture is shifted, and hopefully by addressing the crazy illegal immigration we've had in this country, and as we said over and over, that it has really far-reaching implications, that our kids can be kicked out and they can go play by themselves, Sarah.
Yeah, I do long for the day that I can just kick my kids out and say, you're going to go figure it out just like I did when I was your age. I trust that you will make your own fun. It'll be a great exercise in using that big brain up there. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we do want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a great all-natural anti-inflammatory that takes care of your pain. If it's neck pain, back pain, knee pain, arthritis, whatever the case may be, it's the inflammation in your body that is typically causing the pain. And so when you get rid of the inflammation, you get rid of the pain entirely. You just cut it off at its head, okay? ReliefFactor.com. Get their three-week quick start pack. It's $19.95, and it's backed by a guarantee. So you literally have nothing to lose except your pain. And that could be life-changing for you if you're in the thick of it. Go to ReliefFactor.com. Get that 3-week quick start over at ReliefFactor.com. We only got a couple minutes left here, guys, so I want to make sure that the audience remembers. Go check Eric July out, Rippaverse Comics. He provides woke-free material. You will not find any wokeness, no LGBT garbage in any of what he produces. Go support an American company, Rippaverse.com. It's really good stuff, and he's been very, very successful at that. So great work, Eric. Keep it up. Matt, also follow him. He is at Matthew D. Marsden on YouTube. I would say it the way that he says it, but I can't because they wouldn't know where to go because they wouldn't know that there's an R. Go ahead, Matt. Matthew D.
It's true. And Matthew D. Marsden, possibly the best Marsden there is. Possibly the best D, some people say. Not as rich as Eric July. He's a millionaire. Possibly a billionaire. Look at him. He laughs, but he laughs with gold on him. He's gonna get a gold.
I know.
mic.
I'm like, okay. I'm reading this Shopify ad, and I'm like, hey, Eric, are you in the business of making loans? I want a business loan, and you've got millions of dollars. So maybe I should just hit up my friend first for some cash. No, but seriously, make sure to, thank you. Follow these gentlemen. And speaking of, you know why? I need that loan for my business. I got these, look, you guys were wondering, what is all the sparkles behind him? Y'all, you
That's
need
awesome.
these jackets. Isn't that so cool? Look, you can go get it at AmericanBeautyBySarah.com. Support American business, AmericanBeautyBySarah.com, along with much more. Eric July, Matt Marsden. I hope that the studio has AC. I'm not sure that it will, so I may see you guys from the house again next week. We'll see you then.